All right, let's dive into something that I think a lot of us feel deep down, this weird paradox at the heart of modern work. We're talking about the constant tug of war between survival and real freedom, and how the corporate paycheck sits right in the middle of it all. This line just hits it perfectly, doesn't it? It captures that core feeling so well. The company gives you enough to get by, to make sure you're okay, but it's almost designed so you never truly get ahead, never really build real wealth. And you have to get this. This whole setup, it's not an accident. It's not some bug in the system. This cycle of dependence, it's a feature. It's the way the system is designed to work. So let's break down how this design actually works, because it's pretty clever. First, they make it just comfortable enough that the idea of quitting feels way too risky. Then they make you just dependent enough on the salary, the benefits, that you feel like you can't escape. And finally, they dangle just enough hope, a promotion here, a new title there, to keep you climbing that ladder, even if it's leaning against somebody else's building. Which really brings us to this perfect metaphor for the whole experience, the golden cage. I mean, it looks great from the outside, right? It's shiny, it seems safe and secure, but at the end of the day, it's still a cage. And this chart just lays it all out, the massive gap between the promise and the reality. That glamour of a steady paycheck, well, the reality is often financial dependence. Those great health benefits, they can turn into golden handcuffs that chain you to your desk. And all those fancy titles and promotions, a lot of the time, it's just the illusion of progress, while your actual freedom goes absolutely nowhere. So it really makes you wonder, right? We're all taught that this is what security looks like. Get a good job, get those benefits. But is that kind of security the same thing as real long-term stability? Okay, check out this number, because it is shocking. A study from 2022 found that 53% of Amazon warehouse workers had experienced food insecurity. Now think about that for a second. These are people with jobs, with competitive wages, and yet over half of them were worried about where their next meal was coming from. It's a brutal reminder that a paycheck does not automatically mean freedom from worry. And hey, don't think this is just a problem for people in lower-wage jobs. There's this thing called the middle manager trap. Even people pulling in six-figure salaries often find themselves living paycheck to paycheck. Once you factor in taxes, a mortgage, the whole lifestyle, it's exactly like being on a treadmill. You're running your heart out, moving so fast, but you look around and realize you haven't actually gone anywhere. Okay, so if the modern corporate world is this golden cage, what's the alternative? Where do we even begin to look for a way out? Well, this explainer points us toward a different ideal altogether, a path that's built on ownership. Let's look at a pretty powerful historical example. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, actually started his career as an employee. He was a shepherd, but he didn't stop there. He made a conscious shift, becoming a businessman and then eventually a trade partner. You can see this clear, deliberate journey from being a wage earner to becoming an owner. And this right here, this quote is a game changer. It completely reframes what business is all about. It says that doing business ethically, with honesty and integrity, isn't just about making money. It's actually a high spiritual calling, a way to build a real legacy. And at the very heart of this way of thinking is a concept called rizq, or provision. The idea is that our sustenance comes from God, and it can flow through many different channels. So if you're only relying on a single job, a single paycheck, you might actually be limiting yourself by focusing on just one of those channels. All right, so that's the big idea, the ideal. But how do you actually do it? How do you make that leap in the real world? Let's walk through a practical roadmap, some concrete steps you can take to shift from an employee to an owner. Let's really dig into this, because this is the core strategy. Step 1 is all about mindset. Start treating your job like a paid training program. Every new project is a lesson. Every difficult boss is a mentor. Step 2 naturally follows. You're not just doing the work, you're actively building skills, creating networks, and forging a discipline that belongs to you, not the company. Step 3, this is where it gets real. You start a small side venture. It's your laboratory, a low-risk place to experiment. And finally, step 4, and this might be the most important one, you start using your salary to build assets, things that can make money for you, instead of just using it to pay bills. That's how you build your own launchpad. Think about it like this. Let's use Tesla as an example. The thousands of employees at Tesla, they are trading their time for money. They get stability, sure, but they're building someone else's dream. Elon Musk, as the owner, is trading his vision for wealth, for freedom, for a massive impact on the world.
Same company, but two totally different outcomes. And it all comes down to ownership.
So, when you boil it all down, it really comes to this final choice, doesn't it? It's a choice between that comfortable, predictable security and the much harder, but maybe much more rewarding path to real freedom.
And look, we have to be super clear about something. The paycheck itself, it's not the bad guy here. It's a powerful tool. It's how we survive, how we provide for our families. But the whole point is that survival should never be the final destination. It should be the starting line.
I mean, if there's one single idea to hold on to from all of this, it's got to be this one. Security feeds you, absolutely, but it's ownership that has the power to actually free you.
So that really just leaves one final question for you to think about. Are you going to stay comfortable inside that golden cage, or are you going to start building your own path to freedom?